The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. The Boyce bus is back in action. It's Saturday night. Welcome to Double Doon. This is going to be our new weekend show. It won't be every Saturday night. It might be a Friday sometimes. It all depends what we're all getting up to at the time, you know, what availability we've got. But this is going to be the show every week that we do this one. I've got a live guest on. There's been teething problems. Apparently I was sounding literally like Alvin for the Chipmunks up to about 5 minutes ago. So because of that, I thought the safest thing to do, not because I like him or anything, but I thought the safest thing I would do is get on my brother for the first show in the knowledge it might be a bit of a car crash, and then we'll take it for there with the guests and stuff, and they can judge all they want. You know what I mean? I hope everyone is well. I can see the comments are filling up already. Thank you for spending your Saturday night on the Boyce bus. This is what it's all about. Tonight's going to be a bit of fun. Obviously, we'll talk a lot of Celtic. You know, we're going to have some good debate on that. Obviously, we've got the Europa League to look at. We've got a massive fixture now tomorrow, and what is going to be a league campaign, I think, that could potentially go to the wire. We've got an injury record to talk about. We've got fan protests or lack of protest or silent protest, whatever you want to call it. Is it working? Is it not? We're going to discuss that as well. And then we'll trial this Double Doon quiz. Now, I promised on Twitter I was going to play a single by an unsigned band at the end of every Double Doon show. That won't happen this week, purely because I've still not... I was trying to work out how to play it. I tried earlier, and I think that's what turned my voice into a chipmunk. So we'll maybe just need to leave that this time. But obviously, once I've got more of a grasp of how this all works, then we'll be sorted. Anyway, without further ado, I better introduce you to the other Boyce in the family, and the slightly more quiet and reserved one. This is Johnny Boyce. Welcome along, Jono. How you doing, mate?
I'm not too bad, thanks. Not too bad at all. It's good to be on board the bus at last. Let's hope we don't have any motion sickness this evening.
Motion sickness, indeed, mate. Indeed. I think that might be the order of the day for a few of us, knowing what sort of cocktails those boys will be having, you know what I mean? And I know those boys in the comments. I know what they're like. Anyway, obviously we'll start a wee bit topical. I meant to have that up earlier. Double Doon, the Boyce Bus weekend show. Welcome. Trying to do all this like work all these banners, work out quizzes and that, and then doing the hosting and all that at the same time. No wonder it's some folks paid full-time job. I tell you that. I only finished work a couple hours ago. I'm a complete amateur at all this stuff. In the live comments, we have Monty's in there, Feed the Bear, Studio O'Reilly, Bruce FM. He's a good lad. He's got some funny patter, especially when he messages you at 2:30 in the morning. And that's good. He's already feeling positive and looking forward to the Conference League. That is all good. And Paul McFarlane, double trouble from the brothers Boyce. Hail, hail, guys. Good to have you with us again, Paul, as well. Superb. Daniel MC's in as well, and he's always funny as well. Right. Let's talk. Let's go back to Thursday. Thursday, what we realise is Ange, for a start, Jonathan, doesn't do dead rubbers.
No.
There is no such thing. Even if he's making 11 changes, he seems to manage to get the 11 guys coming in to be even more fired up than what the usual first team 11 were. It was what I call a slobber knocker.
By God.
Yes.
It definitely was.
It was a slobber knocker, but do you know what? There was a lot of positives to take from it. And at the end of the day, it was £500,000 in the bank, which I think has went under the radar a wee bit because it was a win in Europe. Picked up 1.5 million in wins alone in that group, which is not bad going when you consider the quality I felt that was in that group they were with, and obviously how haphazard the start to the season had sort of been. So there you can see the banner there. Thursday's win was such an impressive result, particularly considering 11 changes. Ange's methods are working with the fringe players. Jonathan, first and foremost, we'll talk about them as a general. What did you make of the impact? Or what surprise did you have at how much a lot of the players that we've seen very, if not nothing of this season, what did you make of the impression that they gave on Thursday night and the impact that they had?
I thought it was a really impressive performance. I've got to say, for the youth to have came in and played as well as they did, I was really taken aback by. There was actually a moment, I think, in the second half, I think it was for Liam Scales, actually. He goes right through somebody, and as you say, it's like it's a dead rubber, but he wasn't treating it as if it was just there was nothing to play for there. He probably should have got booked right enough for it. But there was a bit of passion going on there. I thought Urhoghide in particular was outstanding for the most part. I thought he was the most impressive player on the park on the evening. But I thought there was a lot of positives to take from a lot of the young players that actually came in to the team. And it does show that there is a bit more depth perhaps there than we thought. And maybe we just need to look into our youth a little bit more, because Celtic notoriously don't go to their youth and give more than maybe one of them a chance. You maybe throw in one and you'll keep your 10 big players in. But I think there's enough quality potentially in that youth area that we can possibly look to blood a few more of these guys and see if they can handle it. Because if you can beat Betis at home, and it was a fairly strong team Betis put out, it wasn't a weak team that they put out on that pitch, then why couldn't they do that in the league games in the build-up to, obviously, the League Cup final? You've got Rangers coming up in January. It's a big schedule at the moment. We know the squad's a bit threadbare, but when you've got these youth players making an impact, then I do think you need to be blooding them a bit more and giving them more of a chance.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think we've seen enough evidence there that whilst Ange has undoubtedly had his hands tied, and we'll come to that in a bit when we talk about decision making and stuff, and what I always feel there's a caveat with. But anyway, I feel that what he did find, he would have been quite encouraged at the fact that maybe the options on paper that don't look as good are doing well. I brought up this comment from Philip because Philip's a huge fan of the show. He's in touch quite regularly. He's saying he can't post in the live chat. It's really weird. Any help again, last would be good. I mean, it's showing at my end, mate, if I'm honest to you, so I'm not entirely sure what the story is. And we'll come to some of the comments here as well. Obviously, I know Johnson, for whatever reason, I brought up Paul's comment. I'll bring it back up now. The fringe players, apart from Ajeti and Johnston, made an impact. Ironically, Ajeti is taken off doing the one thing he's not associated with, Jonathan, and that's, closing down goalkeepers, making lung-busting runs to try and, put the pressing from the front. It's not things that we always associate with Albi and Ajeti. So I suppose even to an extent you could say at least he is buying into what this, Angie's script is going to be here, and he's not in a cream puff about it all. Now, Johnson got an assist, but that was it. Monty's already saying Johnson is useless. I touched on this on Monday. I feel that Johnston's already a whipping boy this season, man. He's had nowhere near enough games yet, back to back, enough minutes for us to start making a proper decision on whether he's actually going to make the grade at Celtic or not. The guy's been out with injuries. It's not always his fault. I know there was the implication at the time where it looked like he'd been on the park for 90 seconds and he was famously told to F off. And it looked like he maybe he made a bad decision saying he was fit to play or whatever. But, in general, injuries are an unlucky thing to happen, and we shouldn't hold it too much against Mikey. And I think he deserves a fair crack of the whip. And the one thing I will say is, if anyone's judgment is being trusted at Celtic right now, it's Ange Postecoglou's, and he quite clearly likes what he sees from him.
I think there's a player there, Russell. There's definitely a player there. And you only have to look at what Ange has done with some of the other players that he's brought onto a game, with Anthony Ralston being the prime example of what he could potentially do with Mikey Johnson, because there is a lot of untapped potential there. I think fans are going to have to be a bit patient with Mikey over the next few weeks as well, purely because the options, which I'm sure we'll get to in a moment, are slim pickings up front, which might well mean Mikey ends up having to go into a striker role, which isn't his favoured position by any stretch of the imagination. So there is going to need to be a bit of patience there. But I do think, given time, and if the support give him that bit of breathing space, that Ange can bring him on like he has done with a number of other players at the club. That's
it. I mean, Tony Ralston was never given a chance this season, and now he's on a long-term contract. I mean, I'm not saying he's, the best fullback in the world by any stretch, but he's undoubtedly came on leaps and bounds under the guidance of Ange. And that's been also through playing games. And I think Johnson obviously is going to get more of a chance, particularly with the injury list, and we'll come to that later as well. But he is going to get more of a chance. And I just hope he can be judged fairly. Don't judge the person. Judge what his actual form is. Monty says he loses the ball all the time. Mate, I think that's maybe he does, but I think a lot of wingers lose the ball a heck of a lot as well. And I just hope that's an objective criticism and it's not one based on the fact it's Mikey Johnson. He's caused 2 the goals in the games he's played. Again, these are snapshots though. We're trying to look at the bigger picture here. This is what you're always told to Postecoglou. Look at the bigger picture. So I think it's really important we look at the bigger picture with Mikey Johnson and go, firstly, like it or lump it, he's going to be involved over the next month. It's a crucial month, December, 9 games, and he is going to be playing, such as injury record, whether we like that or not, first and foremost. I think it's time to get off his back as much as other people is. There's Bruce coming in with the other side of it. Confidence is holding back. He got an assist against Betis, and I trust him to start up front tomorrow. I think there's more people trying to shoot him when he's down already, and I think he deserves a chance. I mean, I'm not against, I'll bring Monty up again, and I'm not against what he's saying here, though. A loan move similar to the Christie one, I think I spoke about this on Monday, Jonathan. The benefit, Ryan Christie came back, bulked up, and more streetwise. And I think he actually had a bit of swagger when he came back because he'd been one of the main men at Aberdeen for 18 months. And I know he'd been obviously a really top player at Inverness as well and one of their main men, but doing it at Aberdeen was a higher platform. And he certainly seemed to come back with, like what Bruce was just saying there, about the confidence. A loan move to an Aberdeen or Hibs could do Mikey Johnson the world of good in January, but it always going to come down to, Jonathan, how well Ange is backed in January with recruitment. Well, he has to be back to the tilt. And recent history tells us in January, Celtic are notorious for doing diddly squat, mate.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think we're looking potentially at 3 Japanese players, I believe, at the start of January seems to be the big rumour that's going round. But then there's talk in the papers today that that'll be all the business coming in that is being expected. And if that's the case, then I don't think Celtic are in a position where they could afford to let Mikey Johnson go out on loan, because they would probably still need him as cover in case anything happens to the current wingers, particularly when you look at a guy like James Forrest, who's spent most of the last year or so out injured and he just can't seem to get a run of games at the moment. Yep. So I think Mikey Johnson is as much as a loan would be beneficial for him, and I totally get the point with Ryan Christie, obviously how successful that loan period turned out to be for him. If you were to send Mikey Johnston on loan at the moment, I think we could end up in a position where we need to recall him if we end up getting hit with more injuries. Again, one other thing to note with Johnston, I think, is a very key point, and you mentioned it there yourself, is when Christie went to Aberdeen, he actually did a lot of gym work. I think Brendan Rodgers put that as part of his schedule at the time, was that you need to go to the gym and do the sort of core work in your arms and bulk up a bit. And I think that's something that Mikey Johnston badly needs to do to improve that part of his game, because at the moment he does look a little bit lightweight, and he's not the type of guy that a lot of fans would probably be overly enthused about seeing coming on a place like Pittodrie or Tynecastle, one of those difficult hostile grounds where he is going to get roughed up a bit. So I think that's important for him. But I would say, in terms of loan out, I think it's probably going to be very unlikely he'll be able to go anywhere in January, albeit it would probably do him a lot of good.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. We'll move on from Mikey Johnston anyway. I think, there was a lot of encouraging signs. At the end of the day, he'll say he's done his job. On Thursday night, he got an assist. I thought a heck of a lot of the fringe players came in and did themselves no harm in terms of the first team reckoning that they've got, going forward. Just quickly to round it up, Stephen Thompson, great lad, Endless Celts, love it. I'm going on their show next week, I think it is. Really look forward to that. It's a great podcast. He said the bigger picture is Johnson's poor injury record. It's true. Never consistent. No, probably not. Are many wingers? Probably not. No doubt his quality, but hasn't worked with Celtic. A loan required. And I think that's the thing. No one's actually saying ship him out permanently as of yet. In comes Jerry Gracie, and he is saying, where does Giakoumakis fit in if we sign Maeda? Well, here's the point. Now, football's, to me, there's many ways to skin a cat, right? Many ways to skin a cat. And one of my worries is that we're all very much, you knew Ange wouldn't change his ways. You knew he wouldn't, change the way he plays. And I think that's fair enough, because at the end of the day, he's doing very well right now, and we're all enjoying what we're seeing on the whole. But I think also it'd be foolish not to be able to mix it up sometimes. And you would like to think if you have options like a physical striker like Giakoumakis with Kyogo, playing maybe just off him, picking up, loose balls, flick-ons, layoffs, things like that, that would work. You would like to think a Maeda sort of type, another workhorse, electric pace, could work playing around Giakoumakis. And it would mean us playing maybe two up top. You would like to think, perhaps if we were to have a decent run, Jerry, in the Conference League, and it starts getting, later on in the competition, maybe we need a goal with 5 minutes to go, and you need to go route one. Maybe that'll happen in the league. A tricky away day, to a Ross County, for example, or something like that, and you've got to go a wee bit more direct. Giakoumakis could fit in. And let's not forget, he scored a variety of goals in his time in Holland. If you actually look at his 27 goals from last season, there were all sorts of varieties of goals, some outside the box, some overhead kicks, headers, tap-ins. Then there was these beautiful scoop sort of chips that he was doing as well. There was two identical. So no, I think there's nothing wrong with having three forwards all vying for the first team place. Again, with Giakoumakis, I hope we're not going to write him off before really he's had an opportunity to get going. Interestingly, Feed the Bear is dreading the Well game. Do you think we'll struggle with no out-and-out striker? It's interesting. Obviously, we know the Motherwell game upcoming, Jonathan, is of the utmost importance.
Yep.
Right? Now, the thing is, the win in the Europa League, it came at some cost. However, Kyogo's hamstring injury, was that the right or wrong decision to bring him on? And, I know there's going to be very different opinions on this, but as long as you've got a strong one and you can back it up, I'm all for that. So, over to you, mate.
Yeah, cheers for that. I would think most people will probably be in the boat that was the wrong decision to bring him on for this particular game. I remember when they actually, when he was actually warming up, I was thinking, please, just didn't ball that. There's too many more important games on the horizon. I get, obviously, you want to keep momentum going. You've not really got another striker on the bench, so his hands were tied a little bit because he was going to have to improvise if he didn't bring Kyogo on. But you're looking at that game and you're thinking, if Celtic hadn't won on Thursday, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. People would probably have cared more about winning tomorrow because, as you say, it's a much bigger game in terms of the league. We've got to be competing there and be up beside Rangers going into that derby, so they've got a chance of closing that gap or indeed potentially getting back on top of the table because they've got a hard run of games in the next few weeks. But now you're looking at it and you're thinking, Christ, we've not got Kyogo. Giacomakis is obviously injured. Ayete's now pulled his hamstring. You've got a striker who could have been excellent for us that's now wasting away at Dundee, which is even more frustrating because Lee Griffiths, when a fit and proper-headed Lee Griffiths, is probably Celtic's second best striker when he's on his game. But it's just been so long since that's happened. He can't even really look at recalling Griffiths now because
that ship's long sailed.
Yeah, so he's now in a sticky position where he has to now decide who he actually plays up front. And I'm not even sure who goes up front now, Russell. Who do you think is going to be the man he's going to pick?
No, it's interesting. You've got a feeling it might be Johnston. I mean, the thing is, we shouldn't be in this position now. I always am up for balance, right? I'll put my cards on the table where I am with it. I thought it was a naive decision to bring on Kyogo, if I'm honest. You didn't start him for a reason. I felt there was still, whilst you've done 11 changes, and the injury is, of course, it's bad luck that's occurred with Ajeti. Because Ajeti's trying to play the style of football Ange wants, which I actually pay tribute to Ajeti for. But the thing is, once that injury happens, you've played safe for the whole starting 11. Why then take a risk 20, 25 minutes in? We were a goal up as well. And I just thought, on the bench, you obviously have wanted to get an opinion formed on a lot of the players that he's not actually really seen yet. 11 changes, make no mistake, 11. Right? Now, that means that the next sub you bring on for me should be player number 12 that doesn't normally feature as much. I don't understand why you then went for, to me, the guy who's been the main spark this season. I know Jota's maybe getting more of the headlines of late, but over the piece, Kyogo's been absolutely the linchpin for me of Celtic's successes this season, highlighted none more so by the fact that every league game that we've dropped points in this season, he didn't play up front. And that now, we're about to see how far this team's came tomorrow, because again, Kyogo will not be in the starting 11 up front. And the only other time we've dropped points in the league this season has been when that has been the case. He's not been in the team. So it's going to be very interesting. Here's the conundrum for me. Mikey Johnston, who we've just spoke about for ages, don't I bore folk with Mikey Johnston, Patter, but I think I see something in him. I think a lot of people might lean towards him going up top. I'll say, and I'm going to agree with one of the comments that I've just seen coming in, Paul McFarlane, Abada. I think Abada's finishing at the start of the season shows he certainly has got an eye for goal. His confidence is his biggest issue right now. It was always going to fleet in and out. I felt Jonathan as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, only 19
yeah,
years old.
19. I was just on 20 now, sorry. But I think he would be the guy I would go for up front. Get him running in behind. I think if he gets 3 or 4 chances, he takes one at least.
He's got the legs as well, Russell, which does help to do the sort of running that Kyogo does. I think he's a clever player, Ada, and he can still make similar runs. Which a guy like Mikey Johnston, just because he wouldn't be used to playing up front and having to run that sort of line, might struggle to adapt to having to do. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides to actually go with tomorrow. Abada might well be his preferred choice. Obviously, again, you would think if he could have got Forrest fit, I think Forrest has played up there before. I vaguely remember Rodgers doing it, I think, against Rosenborg a few years ago.
Yep.
So if you get Jamesy fit, then he might be the perfect one to actually just put up there as a stopgap. But again, Forrest to constantly be injured at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, here's the other aspect to it. Does Ange now look like he has a stronger hand to take to the board come the 1st of January, and I know obviously what goes on behind the scenes leading up to that, right? I get all that. But does it strengthen his argument to say to the board, look, I'm playing without a recognised striker in the most crucial month of the season, 9 games in that month. It's not my fault that when one of our player or our 2 key strikers get injured in the same match, we've got absolutely nothing to fall back on. Obviously, ideally, you would have Maeda in, for example, yesterday. We know that. But I think come January now, he may well have a body of evidence now and games he can go to over the last 4 months where he can now point and draw examples of where I didn't have an option there. I didn't have an option there. That's not changed because there's not been any transfers in or out since these matches in the past 3-4 months. So, what are you going to give me? Are you going to back me? Are you not? And I wonder if Ange is silently thinking to himself, I might have them over a barrel here. They might actually need to do what I've said because of this latest injury setback. I also like to ask you, Jonathan, what do you make of the number of injuries we've gotten? I know neither of us are sports scientists or any of that. You know what I mean? Probably struggle to do a beep test these days. You know what I mean? But what's the script with all the injuries at Celtic right now? And I know Ange has alluded to the fact it's the way we play and it's the way I want them to try and play, and I get that. But it does seem an abnormally high number of injuries right now. Am I right?
Yeah, there does seem to be an awful lot, and it seems to be they're dropping like flies in all the key areas where there isn't actually much cover. Ironically, it seems a case that we've actually got no real injuries too much at centre half, and it's probably the best place we've actually got cover for across the whole squad at the moment. But I mean, in terms of the actual injury list, I can only assume it must be down to the intensity of the training. Must be very similar to what is going on in the matches that we're seeing. I think Ange is very much going to die on his own sword, and I don't think he's going to change that at all for anyone.
No. I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Injuries are going to be part and parcel of the way he wants to play. I mean, just kind of touching back on what you were saying about him potentially having the board having to make moves for him over the January period. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit and say, the board could turn round. I'm not saying it like this, but the board could turn round if he was to say win all of his games up to the split with the reserve players, which isn't impossible. The board could turn around and be like, well, you've won those games. Do you actually need the strengthening of them? And it wouldn't be that surprising if the board, given their previous, were to do something like that. The board tend to be very reactive rather than proactive, I would say, Russell. So I would say if Celtic are in a good position over the coming weeks, the board won't do much, I don't think, other than sign the players that we already know about from Japan. I think if we were to lose a couple, say lose the cup final, lose to Rangers, then they'll react.
I'm laughing at you doing you keep going. You sound like Andy Murray doing a fucking post-match press conference. And it's like half American, half Dublin accent. It was a great game. I promised I wasn't going to do this.
I'm going to hold this together, guys.
But I'm thinking like you, Jonathan. So we get injuries, and I'm saying, well, maybe that'll work as a plus side for Ange because he might strengthen his hand. However, Julian battered his knee off a post, nothing to do with training. That's one injury, mate. Come on, you don't nitpick, mate, because we're talking about right now that look, read the players all there. There's a bigger list than just Julian. And I would also say Julian was in light training, was he not meant to have been? And then he seems to have regressed again as well. So there is more to it than that. What I would also say is if Celtic were to have an amazing Christmas period, I think there is a point in what you're saying, Jonathan. That was a good curveball. That the board go, well, look how you're doing right now. Look how you're doing right now, mate. You've got the tools.
Mm-hmm. We'll give
you one or two of that list. How about that? And I think there's definitely a risk of that. And that would be really bad. And I think this time the board has to be, as you say, proactive, not reactive. We're in a position right now where we're in a fight for the title. We are in a fight for the title. Let's give a guy who you've left on his own without a pot to piss in nearly, basically, when he was in the Champions League qualifiers. Let's now tool him up, because what we've seen since Ange took over up to now is a steady improvement. There has been some swashbuckling displays, but of late, despite Thursday's obviously slobber knocker madness, apart from that, when it was a completely changed team, we've been watching a lot of games where Celtic are seeing it out with clean sheets, which is fantastic. In comes Hugh, and oh no, that's Daniel. That's the wrong one, mate. No worries, someone must have commented right at the second I tried to hit there. The board are, as we know, are more interested in spreadsheets and profit margins, sadly. I think that's the worry, Hugh, isn't it? I think that's the worry. We've got to go to recent history and go, the custodians of the club right now are completely silent with another issue right now with Celtic. And I just wonder if it's got to a stage, and the story is, right, and I never claimed to be in the know or anything like that, so obviously I found this out from folk at the last pod, right? But the story was that the board were accepting the notion of letting Lennon go last October, November, and the protests that occurred and all that stuff, and the way the fans were being online with the no entry sign, with Lennon's face and all that, actually, they dug their heels in a wee bit. But they were actually of a mind to maybe call it a day with Lennon, and then they actually dug their heels in spite of the fans, rather than... I don't understand that one-upsmanship as well, which I feel is going on right now between the fans and the board. And I think it would just make a hell of a lot more sense if the fans all think that, and you're of a mind of it, why not just do it? Or because we don't want to be seen bowing to fan pressure. Well, I think they need to get over themselves and just make the right decision for the club at times. And right now, January looming, the right decision for the club would be to give Ange Postecoglou what he needs and get the players in that he identifies and make very little fuss of it. And get them in for the beginning of January. Not fucking wait until the end of January for some EPL fringe player loan signings. Can't be bored with that. In comes Kevy Boy. He says double Doon board. I think that is what we need. We need the board, to back Doon. We need Ange to double Doon. And that is what it's going to take. They're going to need to flip it though to do that, Jonathan. And it's interesting.
It's huge stakes this year, Russell. I mean, in terms of the league, there's never been as much riding on a league championship as this in decades. I know 10 in a row was obviously a big thing last year, but financially this year, the rewards are huge. And it will make a huge difference to coming seasons. Whoever wins this championship has the power in Glasgow. That is what it boils down to. If Celtic were to win the championship this year and the board back Ange in January, then they get the Champions League money. They have that extra 30-40 million pounds in the bank, and then they can push on again.
Jonathan,
it makes absolutely no sense not to.
I'll go back to it, right? We turned over 100 million 2 years in a row with Brendan Rodgers in charge at the club. We sold Brendan Rodgers, if you like, to Leicester City for what is still in the top 10 record compensation packages for a manager, £9 million. Brendan Rodgers is the highest paid manager in the history of Celtic. Brendan Rodgers was in charge when we signed our most expensive player ever in Odsonne Edouard. Brendan Rodgers qualified us for the Champions League 2 out of 3 years. The money we made then, we speculated and we made more money. We accumulated, as they call it. And right now, I'm wondering why we don't think like that anymore. You have to invest. If you invest, take a chance, you might be surprised. Because the higher quality, I just think right now, I almost think there's a snidiness about the board, right? That they're going, oh, Ange, no any cheapos out, in the Far East, mate. And it's like, they're going to look like they're the forward-thinking board with all these visionary ideas, and that's how they got left field Ange Postecoglou, and we're now scouring the Japanese market like this modern club, where really they're just going, how much? 1.5 million for Maeda or 2 million for him? Magic. Because it's all these low risk fees again. And then it's all on Ange to make sure these guys settle in a completely different continent, different style of football. And it's all going to come back to him if it doesn't work out for any of these players. But if it all works, then the board are sitting there counting, millions of profits, etc. It's dodgy, that. But I'm still all for it. If Ange wants them, then by all means, I think it's the right things to do. Graham Bell comes in, another big, huge supporter of the show. Appreciate it, Graham, as always. The fans have bought into Ange's philosophy. It's time for the board to buy in and give him the tools. Let's just say this, Graham. Jonathan, in fact, I'll say it to you, Jonathan, how good would it be if the January window was the December window, mate? Because we need these reinforcements now, let's be honest.
We do. We definitely do. We're going to be a few weeks too late when January comes around. When we look at the fixtures we've got to play in the coming weeks with our threadbare squad. But yeah, I think it's a big opportunity for the board to set down a marker and actually show that they're wanting the club to progress, because the club is in bad need of reinforcements, and it was obvious in the summer. You'd say he did a reasonably good job with it, with what he got given Ange, but the board need to back him properly. He wasn't fully backed when it was said in the summer. The signings that looked like a Postecoglou signings, I would say, have almost all been hits. So you have to give more money at him and give him an opportunity. There's no point bringing in a manager and then not backing him. There's absolutely no point. You'll just end up having to get rid of him in the summer when things don't work out, because I don't think the Celtic fans will have the patience to let a manager continue on going if he was to lose the championship. So it's a difficult one. I mean, Celtic aren't really a club that can have a season out to rebuild. So
there's
the board
an
needs to
interesting fact about that. I'm sure Neil Lennon is the only manager to not win the league and keep his job at Celtic or something like that in the last 30 years. Remember, he got to the last day of the season.
Should have won that season.
Those arseholes went 3-0 up at Kilmarnock.
And we lost Inverness towards the end of that season as well.
Aye, Samaras missed a penalty. But he was kept on, but I think that's the only example there is of it. So, Bruce comes in again. He's saying, good point, Ross. That's why I've shared the comment, obviously, because not many people say that to me. The board just hiding behind Ange. They've hit the jackpot with him, haven't they? I think there's a huge element of truth in that, whereas they can hide behind Ange. If the Japanese market doesn't work out, it's been very cost effective for the board, because they're going to be players. I mean, Kyogo at 4.5 million in modern day football. 4.5 million is what like Sunderland paid for Will Grigg in League One in England. Do you know what I mean? And we've got a guy coming in here who is top class. I think European class. I think he could. I think he's the type of guy that can get in the Champions League and make a fist of it. If you had a few more Kyogos. Then you're looking at guys like Maeda. Apparently, the transfer fee I'm seeing is £2 million. He's the joint top scorer in the J League. Wow, and then I think the one that's exciting a lot of people is Hatate, who seems to be able to play numerous positions, all very effectively. I know a lot of the analytics guys. It's not always my bag, if I'm honest, but I don't mind like reading something like, if it's like a short tweet, I can't be asked all the huge blogs about it, or it bores me to tears. But the odd tweet when you can read it in a snapshot, like what impact they're having. And I read something about Hatate today. I was really encouraged by that as well. But again, there's a culture thing, Jonathan. Trying to settle in Scotland, coming from Japan, ain't going to be easy, mate. And no. I think, whilst Kyogo has obviously nailed it, there is going to be an argument that they might not all nail it in that same fashion. So we will wait and see with that one. But I just hope that
shift as well, Russell, that coming from Japan over to Scotland, it's a totally different kettle of fish. There's probably a reason why we haven't signed that many Japanese players really in our history. I mean, let's think about it. They brought in Nakamura about 15 years ago as your obvious Japanese player when you think of Celtic. And then I think a couple of years later, they brought in Koki Mizuno, who was just a waste of space, really. It just didn't work. they've never really tapped back into it. So I think there's always been concern about that adaptation, because it's a lot to adapt to when you're coming from a completely different culture. Halfway around the world you're coming in. There has to be that sort of concern, if you like, about banging in these players and then not being able to hit the ground running, because there's no settling in period at Celtic, particularly not in January, halfway through a crucial season of football. There's no bedding in period there. You've got to hit the ground running.
Well, we have got breaking news here. Felix 5. We're going to call him Mr. Here We Go. That's what we'll start calling you. You know, the football agent who always says, here we go, and his tweets and he's really, I can't remember his name. What's he called? Alessandro something or something like that. But Felix 5 says, we've paid 1 million for Ideguchi already, apparently. Felix 5, I tell you what, if you've got a Twitter, mate, you're about to get a lot of followers, pal, because we're all going to be thinking this guy is one step ahead.
This is like Sky Sports News now, Russell. You should have got your yellow tie on for this event and been like,
I know, mate, I know.
Getting transfer news today.
Bruce has picked up on it as well. There you go, Felix. Is that an exclusive? Have we already done the business? Look, big Felix 5. He doesn't back down, Jonathan. He doubles down. He says he believes it's done. McGinley, that's his name, Fabrizio Romano.
That's it, yeah. Very good.
And so Felix, that'd be really interesting. I think the Ideguchi one is, he's probably the one with the least sort of excitement about him right now at this stage. But he had a spell at Leeds, he didn't play a match. But people can read into that all they want. The same way they can read into, I think it was Boyce Analytics. Now, I'm not having a go at them, by the way, because, you know, as I say, I read some of their tweets and all that crap. But, like, they posted a fucking, like a 13-second video of him doing the most basic shadowing of players in a recent match and going, these are the defensive qualities that Ideguchi brings. I just thought, I've not really learned anything from that, you know. There was nothing spectacular about it. But if Ange thinks perhaps the fact he's lived in the UK before, so you'll be a lesser bedding in period, and if he rates him as a footballer and has watched him at close quarters in the past couple of years, then trust Ange and let's pay the 1 million. And I can't wait for Felix 5 to be there, almost like an Eddie Hearn sort of figure, standing behind Ange and the
commission.
They'll be face to face, shaking hands, and they'll be Felix 5 doing that big smug grin in between the two of them. You know what I mean? Right, Stephen Thompson made a good point again as well. The point from Endless Celts. Korean and Iran markets are there to be looked at. Celtic need to act quick. Get who Ange wants and get out. It's that simple, Stephen, but we overcomplicate these things a lot. The one, I don't want to be negative though, because the one bit of solace I've got from it, guys, is, let's be honest here, Ange is speaking quite, smug's not the right word, I'm trying to think of the right word, but he's talking very assured about how the plans afoot have been put into motion already, and that it does take time, but they're going to be, I think he said something like, we're going to be far better prepared for this window than we were for the last one when I came in, you know. I would take that as a wee sort of nod to say, we've got our shit together here, don't worry about it. You might be pleasantly surprised, because he keeps his cards close to his chest. I love this. We'll rechristen him Felixio Romano. Felix 5's probably left the chat already. He's like, I'm busted here. I'm busted. Fight is finished. Yeah, everyone's wanting to find out what happened with Katie Taylor. I thought she got beat her last fight, if I'm honest. But anyway, that's we're going off topic a wee bit. Right, one last talking point. We'll then put it to the viewers if there's anything they particularly want to raise. Jonathan, the protest. We've seen tennis balls. We've seen half an hour silent protest in a match that resulted in a 0-0 draw with Livingston, despite a shocking mispenalty at the end that could have got us out of jail. We were there. We then seen on Thursday a very confused Celtic support, clearly reacting to a pulsating game of football, slobber knocker, if you will, but also not sure if they could sing or not. And you were hearing different sections of the ground singing, and maybe other ones booing when people sang at one point. I thought I heard a couple anyway. Yeah. And I thought, this is all getting a wee bit messy. However, what are the fans meant to do? Because it's radio silence from the board, and the fans have basically went, "Two can play at that game. We're going to go silent as well." I thought it's not my idea, Jonathan, right? A silent protest. It's not my idea of a good thing to benefit the team. However, I felt if ever there was a game they could do it, Thursday was that game. Rumours that could then follow on to this Sunday if their voice or lack of voice isn't heard worries me though. Have you heard anything about Sunday doing the same thing? Because I think that was getting spoke about before Thursday. I've not heard so much since, and I sincerely hope we aren't going to do the same thing on Sunday that we did Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I've not heard anything as to what the intentions are for this coming Sunday. But as you pointed out earlier, there we were obviously at the Livingston game where they did do the silence for the first 30 minutes, and it certainly didn't benefit the team whatsoever. And the team has to come first. I know there's obviously these issues with the board and this appointment that they're planning to make. However, I'm not a fan of going down the route of silences in the ground to make that point. I think that needs to be more in the form of protest banners. I think the Green Brigade, for example, are very good when it comes to these sort of things and coming up with these sort of banners. You could have a protest outside the ground if you wanted to as well. I think the other week they tried to have a sit-in. I think at the game, the Aberdeen game that we were actually at as well, they were having people sitting in after the full-time whistle. Far too cold for us. We were straight down for a lager. We weren't hanging about. But there's other means to go about protesting, and I'm not a fan of the silent ones purely because the team needs the support on their side. It's not the team's fault what's going on behind the scenes with the board, so I'm absolutely against it. And I would hope that the Green Brigade and any other fans groups wouldn't get involved with our silence against Motherwell, particularly when we've already touched on the squad is going to be threadbare and it's going to need as much help as it can get from anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's true. I wouldn't like to see it again. I would not like to see it again. I think Thursday, as I say, I'll give them it because I think it was the one game they could get away with it.
Yeah,
I know they're at their wits' end with this, and I get it, and I hear their point of view. One thing that I didn't like in the lead up to it, I think I've got to tell the truth from my point of view, is there is becoming almost just because we're not singing, and it's not just the Green Brigade, by the way, because remember, this was numerous fan groups.
Yeah.
So we've got to be balanced here. It's not just the Green Brigade. Numerous fan groups and pods and all that signed up to it, right? Which is cool. The one argument I didn't like seeing was people, when they were saying on Twitter stuff like, well, the rest of the ground that aren't taking part in it, they can sing and create an atmosphere for a change. I get that might be, the simple way of looking at it. But the fact is, people feel awkward starting the chants now unless it started from one corner of the ground. And that is what happens. So it becomes this awkward silence sort of thing, right? Celtic songs have been sung at Celtic Park for, over 100 years now, 125 years, right? It wasn't invented by an ultras group. It wasn't invented by that corner, the North Curve or whatever you want to call it. But I certainly think right now they've created an atmosphere that is symbolic with Celtic Park, and it works 100%. Of course it does. And we're all grateful for it. But when they don't, I don't like that attitude of, well, why don't you make some noise for a change then? I don't really subscribe to that. However, what I would say is, you read McGinley's point here. He understands the protest, so he's on board with what they're actually doing. He gets it. However, all fans, it might be someone's only game this season that they're going to. Remember that. Some folk can't afford this. It might be a birthday present.
Yeah, totally.
They've been gifted, they're going to go this season. It's a silent Celtic Park. I think folk forget that. It's a one-off for some people. It's not just, it's not just so easy to go there and go, we've scored, but I'm still sitting in my hands. You know what I mean? And I think the emotion that McGinley's talking about there, Pete McGinley's talking about there, is very relevant. And I think it's a good point.
I think on Thursday as well, Russell, I know you were saying obviously it was a game where you could get away with the silence, but I think because of the way that game was playing out, it was impossible not to get excited about watching and then get involved in the emotions that football brings out in everyone. It's the spur of the moment. You score a goal, the natural reaction is you're going to make some noise about it. You're not going to just sit in silence
No, I
because
agree with
things
that.
going on behind the scenes.
I agree with that. And now we've got Tomlinson in again. When Celtic fans receive awards, Celtic are there front and centre, giving it the big one. But when the fans want to say how their club is run, Celtic are silent. Let's be honest here. Whilst it's easy for us to debate, should they be doing this protest, should they be doing that type of protest, yada yada, the ultimate fact of the matter is here, there was a simple decision that the Celtic board had to make and make it quickly, sharply, and none of this gets spoke about. That's the facts. And this is a straightforward decision. None of our customer base, if they look at us like customers, let's say they do, none of our main paying customer base want a guy in charge for a job that you've got a million other options to employ someone in. So let's not do it. They are making themselves clear. Let's keep our customer base happy and nip it in the bud. But like I touched on earlier, there is undoubtedly a game of one-upsmanship going on right now between the board and the supporters, and no one's wanting to play ball with each other, you know? And I think on this one, the fans' argument way outweighs the board's.
I think again it comes back, Russell, to what we've seen from this board over the last couple of years. It all boils down to the key word, communication, and the lack of communication that there has been with this board to the fans for, it's been going on for years now, if we're being completely honest with each other on this. It's ridiculous that the board, if they're going to go ahead and appoint this guy, why not come out and say why you're going to do it? Give the reasons as to why you think he's the best qualified person for the job, and show that you're at least understanding where the fans are coming from, if indeed that is the route you're absolutely determined to go down. As you say, because the fans are all quite clearly not in agreement with this appointment, then why bother with it to begin with? It just seems as if it's an unnecessary thing to be doing to just drive a wedge between the club and the support when things are actually beginning to look a lot better on the pitch than they were, 6-12 months ago.
It's unbelievable. And I think the fact of the matter is as well with Higgins, they were trying to do that under the fucking radar.
Definitely.
They were trying to bring him in through the back door in the first place, and they've went silent because they've been caught with their pants down, And they now are too stubborn just to go, whoa, didn't realise the reaction this would be, we've made a mistake, he's not going to get the job. What an amazing thing. What an icebreaker that could be, to see the board putting their hands up for once and going, we are listening. You are this club. We are more than a club. We're not a board, a bunch of shareholders, directors, and a bunch of supporters. We're not two separate things. I don't think it's that difficult.
No.
Now, Felix Five comes back in and he's saying that there was, I think he said that there was other parts of the ground starting to sing, on Thursday night. I did say that at the start. I said, it was mad because you had different areas of the ground starting to sing songs, and then there was the odd sort of, I don't know why, I don't think there was any cows there, but they made noises like that, there was sort of the old sort of ruffling. Anyway, if anyone's got any other points they'd like to raise, do it now off topic. We can go into one more topic. We'll go a wee bit over an hour tonight. It's Saturday night at the movies. Who cares? The Boyce bus stops whenever we all decide. There's 49 people watching right now, and I've got to tell you, I find that baffling, but it's amazing at the same time. I'm grateful for it. It's a lot of people, though. When I was expecting, I don't know. I wanted 100 subscribers, Jonathan, before I went into my first show. We're now sitting on 627 subscribers at the last check. We've had the Boyce bus on Monday, which was just me essentially talking with the viewers. Incredibly, between Twitter, Facebook, and then what was uploaded to YouTube, it's had over 5,000 views. And then you've got Wednesday, which is obviously a nostalgia trip, playing the old game. 650, 670 or something like that views. That was great fun. And then tonight, I'm just blown away, over 50 people watching right now. It's just class. It's just a big thanks for that. I'm not a big soppy bastard with things like that, but you know that. Monty says, we are with you, boys. Say, well, the thing is, Monty, the one thing you don't need to worry about with me, son, the one thing you don't need to worry about with me is you don't get pulled up for any, that comment's a bit nasty by Monty. Don't worry, son. You're in the real madhouse now. Boyce is going to strength, I think he's saying there. I like it. Right, Separate comment coming up for Hugh. Great guy, Studio Riley. I know he's got ideas to do a pod, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's got planned in the in the new year. Boyce, do you think if we get Maeda, would that mean Abada dropping out? I think Abada is very much someone who is the future for the right wing role. If he can get and he will get his confidence back. I've seen too much quality from him in the opening games to ever consider writing him off. I think dropping him out right now, I think it's going to come down to this, you rotation, Jonathan, right? Rotation is going to be fucking crucial. Celtic play a crazy amount of matches. We're the highest in Europe for December this month, along with a few other SPFL clubs, don't get me wrong. 9 games in December. We play qualifiers earlier than almost anyone else. We're a 60-game-a-season team. So when Maeda comes in, I don't want Maeda coming in and playing 60 games. I don't want Kyogo playing 60 games. No. I certainly don't want guys like Abada playing 60 games. I think it's going to be all about rotation. So
you need 2 players for every position. It always boils down to that.
Yeah.
When it comes to actually having your squad there, and I think the squad depth is ultimately what will either make or break Celtic's season. So you do need two in each position as a minimum, I would say. So you've got that cover. I think Abada probably will drop out, just to touch on that point. I don't think that's a bad thing either. I think he could do with a wee break, and bringing him in and out of the squad will probably do more good for him than just having him playing every week, particularly when things aren't going as well, because it can just slow things down for him a little bit, and the fans can get on his back when he's not having as good a time.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, Bruce had commented earlier, and he was saying that he felt we should have a song that backs the team, but also hits the board, square in the jaw on the regards to the Higgins situation. So we've got Jota on the left, Jamesy on the right, Ange in the dugout, Glasgow's green and white, always with you cheering each and every night. We're your bread and butter. Higgins out the shite. Very good, Bruce. Off the top of your head, mate. I thought I have to bring that one up. Some really nice comments coming in back in the Boyce bus as well. I'm all for that, KV. Love you, Boyce boy. Love you too. No worries at all. No filter, boys. Say it as it is. That's the best thing about this. I should have called this podcast fucking Boyce's Spade, because it is going to be spades getting called spades. And I'm not one of those people who, like, every time... See when you meet someone for the first time, Jonathan, right? You meet them for the first time, and they come in and they go, "Oh, how you doing, by the way?" And that, by the way, just so you know, what you see is what you get, and I just call a spade a spade. I'm always like that. They're going to be a fanny. They're going to be a fanny, right? Because the thing is, I call a spade, of course I do. But not every time I go in the garden shed, I go, spade. I don't feel the need to, you don't always have to call a spade, even though the spade is a spade, and we will call it that. You don't need to always cut about going, spade, every time you see one. That's argumentative idiots, you know what I mean? So, aye. There will be a lot of truth, though, said on the Boyce bus. I'm up for the comments coming in, and if there's any pops at me, by the way, I'm the man with the microphone. I'm all for it. And I've got a sharp tongue. I'm ready to play and enter into combat with anyone. It'll be great fun. And no opinion for me that's backed up in the comments. The thing is, the level of the actual level of the comments you're getting from the viewers so far on the bus has been class. You're seeing folk are making points, and they're backing it up with actual, there's meat on the bone, Jonathan. They're talking sense. You can't argue with that. And that's what I want in here. I want honesty. There's no agenda, certainly no script. There's no arselicking, and I am not ITK and in the know. Trust me. So I'm never going to kid on you. Our sources say, or my friend here says this, or, oh, news just in. Fuck off. You know what I mean? We'll just have our own banter. Anyway, after that Saturday night rant, Jonathan, are you ready to play Double Doon?
I'm looking forward to this.
Right,
and the highlight of my Saturday.
Good. I need to sort out sound, though, and get sound playing on this for next week. I want to have like a wee heart, like a...
Oh, like Who Wants to Be Millionaire with the
heartbeat going. That'd have been cool, eh? That would have been good. Boyce ain't ready to cut a shoot promo. Always, mate. Born like that. Podcasts were always like punk, and that anyone should and could do it. I think that's true. Honestly, you're not reinventing the wheel doing this. I can assure you. You know, it must be a nice novelty getting paid full time to do it, mate. Right, let's do some double Doon. I will go over the format with you now, okay? So, double Doon is a short quiz. It's a 6-question quiz, okay? Now, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, for example, it comes with 3 lifelines, okay?
Do I get a check at the end of this for £1 million?
No, but you get a place on the leaderboard, which I'm still developing right now, shall we say.
Well,
It'll be up next week.
Anyway.
It'll be up next week. Double Doon is your first lifeline. You can use, obviously, any of the 3 at any time. Double Doon allows you, if you call double Doon, you have to do it before the question's read. So if I say question 1 and you go, right, double Doon, cool. And it means you'll get double the points for that question, all right? But obviously you don't know what that question is going to be. Here's the cryptic clue, well, not cryptic, the non-cryptic clue. The clue is the questions start easy and get harder as they go. So question 1's going to be easy, but it's for less points. So question 1 only gets you 5 points. So if you say double Doon after question 1, yes, you might be more likely to get more points, but it's a far less total. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously there wasn't much risk in doubling Doon on the first question. Your other lifeline is back Doon. If you back Doon, that means you're stepping out of the question, you're not even making a guess, and there's 10 points taken out your score. Okay? On top of that, you can flip it. Flip it you can do once as well. Obviously, it's a lifeline. Flip it means you can swap the question, no matter what question you're on, and there is a flip it question that I've always got there in the back burner, which may well be solid. Could be easy. You don't know what level it is. So you could flip it on question 5 and only get the level of a question 2. Flip it sort of question. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it could be easier. Or you could flip it on question 1 and your question 1's the level of a question 6 sort of question. Do you know what I mean? So obviously the wee catchphrases that I used to do on the old pod. So aye, that's what it's all about. Double Doon. Also, the other thing I was going to say about the scoring is I think we should use a timer, Jonathan. What do you think?
Well, I like that.
I think if you finish it in under 1 minute, you get another 50 points.
All right. How quick are you going to be reading the questions? This isn't going to be like George Bowie on Friday morning doing a stupid 5K minute, is it?
No, not quite, mate. Not quite. And then Hugh's noticed the suit jacket, very quiz show. I know, mate. It's sadly it looks black, though. It's actually really like dark, shiny sort of purple colour, but it's not really been picked up on the camera, unfortunately. Yeah, 1 to 2 minutes. You get an extra 40 points. And then anything over 2 minutes, 2 to 3, in fact, you can get 20 points. And then anything over that, you get hee-haw. All right?
Okay.
Okay, let's play Double Doon. I'm just going to get a stopwatch on, Jonathan. What we'll do is I'll try and see if I can bring it on the screen. I'm hopeless with this tech stuff, guys, by the way, just so you know. Alarm and clock needs an update. We're getting alarms and clocks ready for you. And not else not. Surely it's just the time, you stupid laptop, you know what I mean? John Lydon called out Savile 30 years ago and got banned from the BBC for it. Shame John's a legend. Yeah, he also, Felix says he wished he'd done more, that he was scared. Kenny Boyce, I'm on the bevy. What are the rules again? Don't you worry, mate. We'll go through the rules again. Don't you worry.
I think I've got them. I think I understand what I'm doing.
Yeah, so we'll go through them again, though, just for everyone so they know. Question 1.
Sure.
Question 1 is worth 5 points. Question 2 is worth 10 points. Question 3 is worth 20 points. Question 4 is worth 30 points. Question 5 is worth 40 points. And question 6 is worth 50 points. Before I've read out the question, if you want to do one of your you've got 3 lifelines. One's called Double Doon, one's called Back Doon, one's called Flip It. Now, the reason
I'll keep you right.
use Double Doon, I know you keep it right. The reason you might use Double Doon is because it gets you double the points. But you don't know what the question is. You've got to call it. I'll say question 3, and then you've got to say double Doon before I've actually read out the question. Now, if you back Doon, the benefit to that is it keeps your time lower. And obviously, the quicker you are, the more points you'll get at the end as well. And if you flip it, that means the question you've got gets pulled out, and there is a flip it question that will take its place, okay? Just so you all know. How's that all sounding? Is that making sense? I'll be a bit of a laugh anyway. Who gives a fuck? I've got the 6 questions here. The flip it one I've got somewhere else in the computer.
Do I get all 6 questions even if I get one wrong? Is this how this works?
Say that again.
So I get all 6 questions even if I get one wrong.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Okay. I'm just going to see if I can share the stopwatch, right? See if it lets us do it. This is all fun, eh? Technology and all that, eh? Right, I think this is going to work. Can we all see a clock?
Yes.
Oh, right, Jonathan, it's time to play double Doon. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, name Celtic's top scorer in all competitions this season.
Kyogo.
Correct. What nationality is fullback Bolly and Golly?
Oh, he's African somewhere, is he not? French.
Who left Celtic as manager in March 2010?
Tony Mowbray. Double Doon.
Oh, he's doubling down for question 4. He needs it. What was the first season Celtic ever played in the group stages of the Champions League?
That was 01-02.
Oh, he's right. He's doubled down.
Yes.
What shirt number did Bobby Petter wear during his time at Celtic?
Flip it.
Oh, he's flipped it. Oh, unbelievable scenes. Now, tonight's flip it question is, Martin O'Neill brought in 3 players on the eve of the European transfer deadline in August 2001. John Hartson, Momo Silla, and which other player?
Yusuf Haran?
No!
No!
Right, final question. Question 6. Name one of the Celtic scorers in the League Cup final of March 2000.
Larson.
No!
Oh, no.
Oh, stop the timer.
I was thinking 2001. He'd been injured. Of course he'd been injured, Larson, in 2000.
He had a double leg break, mate.
Oh, of course he did.
The questions, I tell you what, that was good fun, by the way. I enjoyed that. What did you think of the format, lads? Let us know in the comments. Lads and ladettes, of course. Now, Jonathan, if you had the comments on, which I'm glad you didn't, here are the correct answers, and you are going to be raging with some of these. Top scorer this season, absolutely, is Kyogo. So you get 5 points, okay?
Lovely.
What nationality is Bolly and Goalie?
I was thinking French, but then he's somewhere in Africa, I think.
No, he's Belgian.
Is he Belgian? No, I was never getting that.
Belgium, mate. He's been called up by Belgium before under Martinez.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Question 3. Who left Celtic as manager in 2010? You got 20 points for that. You got it right. 25 points you're on so far, because it was Tony Mowbray, of course, after a 4-0 defeat to St Mirren. Question 4 was, what was the first season Celtic ever played in the group stages of the CL? It was worth 30 points, and you doubled down. You were right. That takes you up to 85 points, mate. However, it's a sorry tale, the question 5 and 6. The questions do get harder. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they definitely did get harder.
What shirt number did Bobby Petter wear during his time at Celtic?
11.
It was worth 40 points. What did you say?
Is it 11?
15, mate.
15.
And then the final question, it was a trick question. I knew the 2000 bit would confuse people because they're just going to think the O'Neill season. They're not joining the dots quick enough.
Yeah.
It was won with Kenny Dalglish in charge as manager. And the goals were scored by Vida Reset and Tommy Johnson. Tommy Johnson scored the winning goal the following season to win us the league as well.
He did against
a
the Mirren.
Man with an eye for the big goals. That was a good laugh. But You did complete the 6 questions, whether you got some right or wrong, within 1 to 2 minutes. You get an extra 40 points. Jonathan, you finished with a respectable 125 points, and we will update the leaderboard with that. P. O'Neill says the format is utter shite, boys. Sort it out. I thought it was all right, man. I quite liked it. Joseph, you couldn't know you're very good at this computer's malarkey, mate. I've not got a clue what I'm doing, trust me. Anyway, Bruce FM says he's terrible at quizzes, but he still enjoyed being confused. I thought the format was all right, P. O'Neill. However, I'm going to bring up your comment because it's fair. He thought it was utter shite. I think that's fair enough. I actually like the format of Double Doon. I think it's good. I think it's all right.
I mean, people aren't backing Doon on that, though, are they?
I know, you should back Doon right now, P. O'Neill. Right, guys. That's an hour and 10 minutes. What a night. We've been averaging 45 to 50 people watching the whole time. So I'm absolutely delighted with that. Keep quizzes simple, in my opinion. Okay, no, but I've had to find a way to get the lifelines involved. And then I just think people, if I only gave like a point for each answer, that they'd get all embarrassed by how shitty the score was.
What was the answer to the flip it question?
Steve Guppy.
Steve Guppy.
Steve
very
Guppy,
good.
Mate.
Steve Guppy.
Philip DeMarco, Boyce, you can't get the questions out quick enough to beat 1 minute. Well,
exactly, mate. He's like,
there's a bit of method to my madness.
Told you. He listened to George Bowie far too many times on the car radio back in the day.
It's because it's my brother, mate. I'm not going to give him. You're not having him winning it. Come on. Stephen Tomlinson says we will have a quiz ready for you when you come on our show. That is Endless Celts. I just want to say as well, Liam Greenlaw was in the comments earlier. He's the guy who's done the black and white artwork that you've been seeing getting plastered online recently by. I've been absolutely blown away by the amount of people that want to try and actually help you achieve something with this. It's mad. We'll quickly show it again. I mean, that's just class, isn't it? Oh, brilliant. It's gone. Brilliant. Aye, look great. There we go.
Can you miss it? There we go.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Looks brilliant, eh? So huge thanks to the Punk Duck Warlord, also known as Liam Greenlaw, for his amazing efforts. Brian Cattigan is the man with the music. At the start of every show, I was hoping to play his latest single, While We Lay, tonight, but obviously I'm having issues trying to work out the audio bit because I'm shite with computers. Ian at Green and White has enjoyed it. Feed the Bear wants to be able to phone a friend next time. Listen, guys, everyone in the comments, this is what's going to make this show, the bus, work, is everyone in the comments, all the passengers getting rowdy, getting up the back of the bus. Kiwi Boyce, it's good to meet you. Good to meet you too. Nice one, appreciate it. Ronnie Dial's only 5 minutes away from winning the MLS Cup, I'm hearing as well. Let's go watch that. Enjoy, Ronnie. Huge. Yes. This has been the Boyce Boss. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Jonathan.